Hi, today we're going to be doing an instructional video reviewing the Buckingham Throttle. We're going to be going over a variety of different diameter of ropes, different constructions of ropes, and how to properly break your friction on the Buckingham Throttle. We also will review installing your throttle on rope in both moving rope and stationary systems. First thing we're going to start off today is talk about the importance of breaking your throttle in, and also the importance of maintaining your rope, as well as how to properly milk a rope so that that wear guard or the sheath of that rope is stretched out and that fiber's ready to be used with a mechanical device. So today we're going to start here. We've got a 16 strand half-inch Teufelberger braided safety blue. Pretty high diameter rope. The outer sheath does take a little bit of time to break in here. So we have climbed with this particular rope a few times here, but we're going to go ahead and actually show you how we can utilize our Buckingham throttle to start my break-in period on the throttle, as well as help milk that rope, especially if you have a new rope that hasn't been climbed on before. There are plenty of variety of different ways of milking a rope. Everybody does it differently. You can use a standard prusik. You can use your mechanical friction device. Anything that's going to essentially help stretch those fibers of that outer sheath out on that rope to help with optimal performance while climbing, especially with mechanical devices. So today we're going to show you how to start that off with the Buckingham throttle. What I'm going to do here, we just have this anchored to a vehicle. You know, you can anchor this rope anywhere you want. But what we want to do is have our spliced eye, our stitched eye, whatever it may be, on our anchor point. And what we want to do is drive this sheath towards the termination of the rope. And we're going to utilize the Buckingham throttle today to help with the break-in period of the throttle, as well as start the milking process of a rope. So all I'm going to do here is go ahead and attach this to my anchor point. I do want to have this throttle in my SRS setting. Toggle button here that moves it from MRS to SRS. I'm going to go ahead and attach my rope to my throttle here. Everything looks good. At this point, you can use a carabiner. I've got my saddle on already, so I'll just go ahead and attach to this system, put a little bit of weight, and all I want to do here is just drag my throttle, breaking the friction. Now what this is doing is it's helping the rope fibers stretch out, move towards the termination so you don't have any kinks in your line, as well as it's helping the stainless steel components of this throttle kind of wear itself in. You know, there is a tight tendency to have a little bit of a texture on that type of material coming straight from the factory, so we're just wearing this puppy in to get it ready for optimal performance here. So all I'm going to do is work my way to the termination of the end of this rope. Now we can do this with any different diameter rope, construction of rope. This is just one way that will help start your break-in process of the Buckingham throttle, as well as start to milk your rope and get your rope ready for use on a mechanical device. All right, now that we've discussed a little bit of breaking in your throttle, as well as proper maintenance and milking of your different ropes here, let's do a little bit of field trial here. Let's talk about putting the throttle on rope, properly breaking your friction, trying it in stationary rope, moving rope, in a wide variety of different range of construction and diameter of rope. So we've got our 16 strand braided high V rope here, half-inch rope. I believe this is a Teufelberger. Same rope we use to demonstrate how to milk the rope with your throttle to help in the break-in process here. So what I want to start here with is just showing how to properly install your rope. So what I want to do, I like to open up both my gates here. So the upper portion of your throttle here, the upper cams. What we want to do is, if you're holding your throttle towards you with the throttle symbol facing you here, all I'm going to do is rotate, I'm not going to rotate yet, I'm going to push the gate of this locking mechanism away from me and rotate out. What that's going to do is open up your upper cheek plates. From here, I'm going to go ahead and take my lower cams here, my lower cheek plates. There's just a small indent button here. Press in and push open. So now I've got my throttle open. What I like to do when I put this on rope, I like to have my index finger up top, followed by the remaining fingers with my thumb just above my index finger. This just helps me put a little bit of a bend radius in the rope here. And what I'm going to do is find the top portion of this upper cam, and I'm going to take my thumb and drag down. Now my rope is in my upper cams. For the lower cams here, just find my rope channel. I want to go behind my bollard here, my rotating bollard, and go ahead and close my lower cheek plates. So to remove the rope from the throttle, go ahead and open up my lower cheek plates, upper cheek plate. What I like to do from this point, a little bit of same thing, but a little bit different. I want to rotate the throttle 45 degrees. I like to have the upper portion of the rope off the cams, push the throttle away, and pull the rope towards you. So again, you're on and you're off. And again, this is a 1/2 inch rope, and it comes on and off pretty easily. All right. One other thing to mention here, we do have the small toggle button. We do have this rope in a stationary system, so we have the toggle mode here in SRS. It's just a small indent button back here that toggles this from SRS and MRS. So let's keep this in SRS and go ahead and hop on rope and see how she performs on this 16 strand. Now with any rope, I want to go ahead and give this a quick ground test. So I'm just going to go ahead and put my weight in the system, sit down in the saddle, a few bounces, everything looks locked in. I'm in my right setting, SRS. Everything's through my rope channels correctly. So at the ground here, I want to talk a little bit about properly braking the friction. When we first, started development with the throttle, we really wanted to have an intuitive, purposeful braking of the friction. We didn't really want you to be up on a spar, up climbing, and accidentally bump your portion of the throttle that's going to break your friction, and have that device creep on you. So what we want to do here, instead of a push down, it's going to be a rotation away from you. Now, when I'm doing that, I always like to almost have the weight, more towards my pinky, right? So I'm rotating away, and what that does here is just breaks the friction here a little bit easier than if you were to, push straight down, right? So that just really provides a more optimal performance when you are descending. Let's go ahead here and do a quick ascend. So again here, when I'm up in the air, I'm going to focus on the same thing, right? I want to rotate away from me, and you're going to find it's going to operate a lot more optimal and easier rotating rather than pushing down. So start with rotating down. Found a little sweet spot there, and it operates pretty smooth on a 16 strand. Pretty smooth for a 16 strand rope. Now we're going to go ahead and try this with a moving rope system. All right, so now we're going to go over attaching my throttle here in a moving rope system. First thing we're going to talk about here is your attachment point. Your lower attachment point here is always your main rated attachment point. Your upper attachment point here is always going to be your attachment point that is connected to your upper cheek plates here. Now your auxiliary port here is rated and tested in the event you were inadvertently connect to this, but for optimal performance, we want to go ahead and attach to this upper cheek plate attachment point. So first thing I'm going to do here is go ahead and attach my my splice die here, or stitch die, whatever you have, onto my upper cheek plate attachment point. Go ahead and attach my main line here onto my upper cam, same way we talked about earlier. I'm in SRS here, so go ahead and toggle over to MRS, rope channel behind my bollard, and go ahead and close my lower cheek plates. Now I have the throttle in a moving rope system. So we are going to try descending here in a moving rope system on the 16 strand braided high V. Same thing here. Focus on rotating forward on the 16 strand. Probably will be a little bit easier to break than your stationary rope was. So again, focus on rotating away. Pretty smooth there in moving rope. All right, let's try this Samson 11.7 millimeter HyperClimb. A little bit smaller diameter, higher strand rope here. So let's go ahead. I've got this in stationary rope. Toggle button here. Quick ground test. So let's go ahead and try to descend here on the HyperClimb. Again, let's focus on rotating away. So a lot of my pressure here is more towards my pinky. Pretty smooth here on the HyperClimb. All right, now let's try the HyperClimb here in a moving rope system. Again, let's focus on rotating away from ourselves. Very smooth here in a moving rope system. Now we got our famous Yale XTC 48. I think this is the Safari. Well, I know it's a Safari. It's one of my favorite climbing lines here. Operates pretty smooth. That's what I've been using the throttle on. Works great. Kind of had a quicker break-in period on this rope with the throttle than some of the other ropes that I've personally climbed on. But let's go ahead and give this a quick trial. So again, here on the ground, quick ground test. The thing looks good. And again, folks, I am by far not the best SRS climber by any means. So bear with me. I can get up rope, do some different things, but there are plenty of folks much more experienced than I am here. So here we go. XTC 48. Again, let's focus on rotating away. Find with the XTC here, just a little bit easier to find that sweet spot with the throttle. Definitely, again, one of my preferred ropes with mechanical devices. Let's go ahead and try this in a moving rope. All right, breaking the friction here. That's my favorite rope here in a moving rope. Now we are going to talk about, this is a Teffelberger Tachyon, 11.5 Tachyon, 24 strand. From our knowledge here with the Tachyon rope, right, it was kind of developed to have, to be really grippy, right? So easy to climb, works great in a moving rope system, works decent in a stationary rope from what I've climbed with the throttle on and other devices. We'll go over this today a little bit, but you'll notice, and that was kind of the reason for this rope. But it is really nice for climbing on a moving rope system, but can be a little bit sticky in a stationary system here. Still functions and operates well, just not my most optimal rope, in my opinion, for the throttle and stationary climbing. Still tracks pretty well. What I find with with the Tachyon here, just a little bit harder to find that sweet spot. But you notice it does find that sweet spot pretty easily, right? And you come down, locks up nice. It's just a little grippier than some of the other ropes that I prefer for stationary rope climbing. But again, rotating away. So fingers forward, pinky forward, I should say, rotating away. You can find a sweet spot there. Just a little grippier than my favorite ropes for SRS. But let's go ahead and try this in moving rope. So moving rope here, again, let's rotate away. You'll notice here, rotating away from me again. A lot easier to find a sweet spot here in a moving rope. So I really do like the Tachyon in a moving rope system. Works in a stationary system. Just a little grippier, in my opinion, for optimal performance in a stationary system. This is a 24-strand Karant Calima. This rope we find runs pretty smooth in the throttle, right? Karant does recommend, as we would with any optimal performance here with the Buckingham Throttle, they actually recommend to soak this rope and have this rope melt before use with any mechanical devices. And it really helps. It helps with the optimal performance of the throttle, helps with braking, helps with the friction, stick points, and so forth. So we find it does work pretty good. It's a little bit of a softer rope. Great knotability on this rope. Let's go ahead and try this in a stationary system. Always helpful if you connect your chest descender first, right? Like we said earlier, I am not the most experienced stationary rope climber. Actually just learned how to really start climbing on stationary rope probably about 5 years ago from our good friends at Arbor Master. So I got a hang of it, but still learning. But so again, from some of the climbing we've done on the Karant Calima here, definitely recommend proper maintenance and startup use on this rope. Again here, let's focus on rotating away. Find a nice sweet spot here. And it runs pretty smooth. All right. So now we got the Karant Calima here. Try this in moving rope. Find it obviously is a little bit easier to brake here. Again, this is actually, just found out this is actually a brand new Karant Calima. So again, Karant does recommend that it's properly milked and soaked before use. But it performs pretty well in both stationary and moving rope. This is a Karant 11 millimeter, 32 strand, square. We always talk about, how do you pronounce that? Is it square, square? We call it square. Anyway, this is one of my favorite ropes here with the Buckingham Throttle. I've been doing a lot of climbing with this in the Yale XTC 48. It works great. The sheath here has, you know, minimal slippage, so it doesn't take as much maintenance to get this rope ready for a mechanical device, you know, to get it milked. Karant does still recommend that you soak this rope as well as properly milk it before use with a mechanical device. And we recommend that too for any rope that you start off with, especially if that rope's brand new. It just really helps you stretch out those fibers and helps that throttle perform at an optimal level here. So let's try this square in a stationary rope setting here. You notice on the square here is a little bit easier to find that sweet spot. Go ahead and rotate away from me. Really smooth on this Karant square. Let's go ahead and try this in a moving rope. Karant square here in a moving rope system. Nice easy brake here. Easy to control the friction. Definitely one of my favorite ropes I've tried so far with the throttle. So I think it works really well in both stationary and moving rope system. And again, to note here, we are on a natural crotch here, so a little bit more friction than you would have with a friction saver. So works good. All right, we've got a Teufelberger KM3 Max. This is 11 millimeter static rope, really optimized for your everyday SRS climbing. So really developed for the rope access industry. It's transitioned its way into the arboricultural world, and I think it works great for stationary. It works well in MRS as well, but really performs at a high level. I think really for any mechanical device here in a stationary system, and find it really works well with the throttle in our stationary setting. So go ahead, give this a quick ascend and descend. Still getting used to this knee ascender, but I like it. Tracking really nice. So again here, focus on rotating away. Nice and easy to find this sweet spot here. Smooth, easy to find a break in here. Teufelberger KM3 Max. All right. We've got our Teufelberger KM3 Max static rope here, moving rope system. Find a nice easy sweet spot there. Stops on a dime. Works good. All right, folks. So today, obviously, we went through a variety of different ropes. We talked about milking the rope. We talked about the break-in period for the throttle, which obviously can vary, right? It's going to depend on the diameter of the rope, the weight of the user, the length of the descent. So it's important to take your time in allowing your throttle to break in. There really is no science on exactly how long that break-in period is going to take. You know, with this throttle in particular, you know, we've probably done maybe 24 climbs, but we've also, you know, with some 16-strand ropes here, used it to milk some ropes. So took our time really breaking the throttle in, as well as getting our ropes ready for optimal climbing here. So if you guys want to know or have any other questions or want more information on the Buckingham Throttle, please reach out to our team. Visit buckinghammfg.com. Give us a call anytime. We're going to be planning on doing a video series on the Buckingham Throttle, so please comment any feedback or any you know, any informational stuff you guys would be looking for in future videos in the comments section. And again, have fun out there. We're really excited about the Buckingham Throttle. We've been getting a lot of different feedback. We're listening. And again, if you got any questions or comments or concerns, give us a call anytime. Visit the website, and look forward to seeing you all in the future. Take care.